like
her third husband.
her dying on me.
They got married last month. That's
Yeah,
why.
yeah.
For me, I really want it to be a celebration of Black culture and like seeing different Black cultures come together and like, because you don't really get this. You get it in professional theatre, but in amateur theatre or community theatre, you don't really get that.
I cannot remember my English teacher reading this book out loud in class.
Yeah. No. My sister read it in school.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. But yeah. Some of the books in school, I was like...
Yeah, I know. Mine was such odd choices.
Who signed off on this?
I know, literally so...
No, I cried.
You were so valid for that.
Right. I was like, this is art.
It is. It was art.
Hi guys, welcome back to As Seen In.
Hey guys, welcome back.
I'm Tati.
I'm Kaylee.
We talk about all things film, TV, music, entertainment, theatre. So if that's a bit of you, make sure you stay around.
Stick around. We have some guests today.
Yes.
Tati, would you like to take the floor away with?
So we're going to be talking about all things theatre and the colour purple. So guys, introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Tasha. I'm the director of an upcoming production of The Colour Purple, which will be with Sedos Theatre Company. I don't know why I said that.
And I'm Tess. I sit on the committee for Sedos, and I'm also producing this production of The Colour Purple.
This is like all very topical because obviously the film just came out. We were speaking off air. Kaylee and I have seen the film, but you guys haven't seen the film, so we won't give any spoilers. But what led you to want to make this product? How long has it been in the works?
I mean, not actually that long.
Okay.
For the longest time, because it's such an epic production, we just assume the rights are not going to be available to do it, especially with the film coming up. And I think what a lot of people don't know about the amateur theatre scene is we are held to the exact same standards as the industry when it comes to diversity. So, you know, if we put an all-white cast out there for a show, people are like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, why is it all white?
Yeah.
So this production was really just kind of in response to that criticism that we get as a community of kind of theatre makers who don't get paid, famously. And I just kind of thought, you know, Sedos, we had just done a season that was very Britain-centric. And I, you know, thought, you know, well, what kind of stories do people of colour want to tell? Because we had just done a musical called Sunshine on Leith, which is set in Scotland, and Titanic, which is, you know, a very British-American kind of story. You know, there was apparently only one Black person on the whole of Titanic, so it doesn't necessarily kind of like inspire the image of like Black stories and history. So I thought, you know, like, what kind of shows would Black people, but, you know, any people of colour want to do? And I was like, you can't beat The Colour Purple. It's such a great show. And I was like, what the heck? I'll just ask if the rights are available. And if the rights are available, I will find a team to do this. And I kind of couldn't believe it when the rights holders came back and they were like, yeah. They did have to like email and make sure, like, just want to make sure that you would cast Black people, right? Which, like, for some people you think is like, what a dumb question. Of course you're going to cast Black people in The Colour Purple. But you would be so surprised.
Like, there's so many stories of, like, companies who will do all-white productions of Hairspray, and instead of, like, white versus Black, it'll be, like, T-shirt colours.
Oh,
and it's just like,
my goodness.
Yeah, and like that's such a thing. And like I think it was only as recent as 2020 when the rights holders were like, actually you can only do Hairspray if you've got Black people to cast it. Like, don't do it if you can't cast these characters. But it's actually wild that this musical, which has existed since 2002, 2003, they only, with the amateur rights and non-professional rights, so they've only been able to specify that 4 years ago. And people would still do it. And which obviously changes the meaning of it. Like the song "I Know Where I've Been" in
Yeah.
Hairspray, like that's such an amazing like power song, and you take the blackness away from that, like literally the word "the night is as black as my skin" is in there. How do you do that with an all-white cast?
Yeah.
Like,
And that's how we met. We met doing a production of Hairspray.
yeah, we did.
Oh.
Yeah,
How long ago was that?
That was in 2019.
yeah.
Gosh.
Tasha was Lil Inez.
Oh my god, I watched it again recently. Like, I love Hairspray.
I was Tracy Chaplet.
Really?
Yeah.
Slay.
So cool.
I loved it. I like, it was one of my like childhood films. Like, I don't know if it was the Zac Efron phase and like that coming out like in the time.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Zac Efron.
from literally when it came out to now, I've probably seen it like 50 times.
It's so iconic.
I just and Lil Nas X, what a ledge.
Yeah,
Actually,
what a ledge. But even with that, like, so that was like a 48-hour kind of workshopy kind of show. It was not even like a thing that you could buy tickets for. It was just kind of for the members of our society. But even that, we struggled to find black people who wanted to be in it. There was maybe like 4, 5 black women.
I think there was a larger group of black women, but absolutely no black men.
0 black men.
wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. But like, you'd think, like, we have not enough, but we have a lot of black British actors for a start. So like, drama schools must have people that want to do these things.
Yeah.
Why do you think that they wouldn't want to do it?
I don't think it's that they want to do it. I think it's about outreach and like reaching out to those. So like my very first show that I did in London was Ragtime, and that story, you need to have 3 separate casts. You need to have your white cast, your Jewish cast, and your black cast. Like, it doesn't work with that. But with that production, because we had people in the industry on the production team who just left drama school, they did a lot of outreach and they reached out. And like, I say this to everyone, like at the recalls, I've never seen so many black men in a room, and they exist, but it's about putting in the work to find them. And I think that's why like Tess and I and the team, like when we said that we wanted to do this and when we did our pitch for the show, the one thing that we specified that we had to do was to start early. So the show isn't until November, but we need to put the work in way ahead just to build awareness. And I think that's where my background in marketing comes in, because I know how audiences work. Like, if you put the work in, you'll get great results. But I think a lot of if you don't have experience of like engaging particularly with communities of color or minority communities, if they don't know that it exists, then they're not going to enter into, they're not going to know about it, they're not going to enter into the room, they're not going to look for it. So you have to go to them and you have to build up that trust and that rapport, and that's not something that you can do in a week or in a month or a month before. Like, you have to start the work now. But then once you've got them in, you have to maintain those relationships and keep them engaged. And I think this is a mistake that a lot of people make. It's like they see one thing and they bring everyone in for it, and it's like, oh, okay, like that's done. And then when it comes around in a couple of years, they're like, oh, but we had them all for this one time. And it's like, well, no, you didn't maintain that relationship with them. And that's like so important for me as like a black woman who is in theatre, was in theatre, but like who is a big fan of theatre. And my biggest passion is getting people who wouldn't necessarily access theatre into theatre. And I think that's at all levels. And I think that's the importance of community theatre as well, because it's an easy thing. It's something that you can do alongside your work. Yeah. It's like, it's a great way to like find people of similar interests. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about like this, and I'm really excited.
So for people who aren't aware, can you give them a brief just explanation of what it is you're doing with The Colour Purple, how you want people to get involved, and then maybe what the difference is between like amateur theatre and professional theatre?
You do the Colour Purple side.
Yeah, so The Colour Purple, we are putting on a production of The Colour Purple at the Bridewell Theatre in November, from around the 20th to the 30th of November. And what I'm doing, so I'm the director, and then we've also got our choreographer Vanessa Forte Nelson and her most recent husband, not most recent. They recently got married.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
It was like
Her third husband.
her dialogue.
They got married last month. That's what I meant.
yeah.
Our choreographer and our music director
Are married.
are married, and we all met doing Ragtime,
Nice.
which we did after I met Tess and Hairspray, and so we sort of came have that relationship. Sort of stemming back those years. Chris is a very talented musician and musical director. He plays in a lot of bands with all of the community shows. Vanessa's an incredible choreographer, and it's the first all-black creative team that Sedos has had, and I believe it's the first time they've had a black director as well, which is really exciting. And yeah, it's just a community production, so non-professional. You don't need any experience, just being able to sing and dance and act is what we ask for. We do auditions. It is still audition to get in, but it's just a really fun way to get involved in the theatre community and tell this really uplifting story, which is really hard but really necessary. And for me, I really want it to be a celebration of black culture and like seeing different black cultures come together, and like, because you don't really get this, you get it in professional theatre, but in amateur theatre or community theatre you don't really get that. And like, as someone who has been the only black person in many productions, I understand how how isolating it can feel. Like, not just for people who don't understand you on that level, who have that shared experience. And for me, it's about bringing this shared experience and bringing all these people in who will understand, but also having people who understand that, like, sort of over them, because I have been in shows which are telling stories of colour, but it's been with white creative teams, and they won't understand the nuances or the microaggressions or the different things that we sort of go through and understand. And like, something as simple as getting darker mics, like, you wouldn't know that if you hadn't had that experience. But I've had it where they would always order in white mics, and then I'd have makeshift mics, but then because it wasn't made for that, it would be falling off. And I was like, why should my experience be dampened by just because no one's thought to put in this extra to make these accommodations? So that's kind of what is important for me, is to give a really good experience, telling this really gorgeous story, the beautiful music, but also which is authentic and has that authentic voice. So that's kind of what I'm doing with the Colour Purple.
Incredible.
That actually sounds like really amazing. I hope. But I wanted to kind of touch on, I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but like who you're casting, like what you're looking for, like the roles. Who, I know you touched on who can apply, but like what you're looking for in each character. Did you want to kind of like spread the word?
Let me talk a little bit about amateur theatre in general,
go for it.
because I think it will kind of touch on some of that as well, and the differences between the professional industry and Amdram. I have this thing where a lot of people think that Amdram is like a really dirty word in theatre. They're like, oh, she's done an Amdram, or she's got an amateur show on her CV. But like Tasha said, it is the most accessible way to get into the industry. You don't have to pay 15 grand to do an MA. You can join at any point in your life. And more often than not, there is an amateur theatre group in your local area. It's quite significantly a different beast in London, because we've got such like a concentrated talent pool, with the West End being here or the drama schools being here. It is fiercely competitive, but there's lots more of it in London. So there's kind of like a group for everyone. If you want to turn up and have fun in the ensemble and not audition, there are groups that you can just join and be a part of it. If you are a dancer, there are groups that do the dance shows. If you really want to kind of hone your skills and have as closer to a professional experience as possible, that's really what Sedos strives to be. So it's kind of the closest thing you will get to not being a professional. That's kind of what we want to do, like really high quality theatre. And the challenges with not being professional industry, I think mostly come to surface when we're casting, because in the industry, you'll have dedicated casting directors and they can open a metaphorical book and be like, right, I want to see this person, this person, this person, and this person in the room for this role. And they just have that available to them. With amateur theatre, we cannot choose who turns up, ever. We just have to light the beacons and hope that the right people come along. And for a very long time, there was little to no effort put in to get a diverse group of people coming into auditions. And when the pandemic hit and we had a massive BLM movement, there was a lot of outcry, specifically within our community, to be like, you know, why isn't there more of an effort to include people who are not white in what we're doing? And one argument that came out of it that you would see in like the depths of Facebook groups was, oh, well, musical theatre is just not in Black culture. Black people just don't want to do musical theatre. That's why they're not coming to auditions. And that for me was such a thing that I just kind of kept in my head as like a question. I was like, is this true? It can't be true, because look at all of the amazing Black actors we have. Look at all of the amazing shows we have that have characters for Black people, Black creatives, writers, directors. I was like, that's got to be some BS that Black people just don't want to be involved. Like, so much of Black culture is based around music.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. And what I have learned, even just so far, the experience of producing this show and trying to promote it, is all you have to do is look for those people who want to be involved. Because we opened up our kind of like, you can register to interest. You can register your you can register your interest at audition for The Colour Purple now. We opened that yesterday, and we've already had more people show interest than have ever signed up to audition.
That's amazing.
Which is absolutely phenomenal. And I think one of the important things with choosing this show, well, a couple of important things. One was having a Black creative team, and it sounds rude, but letting them do it, and not in a way of like, oh, you know, we're gonna let you try. It's of, you can do this independently, and we trust you to deliver your vision. This is yours. It is not for white people to come in and try and show you or tell you how this story should be told. I was going to say two things. Oh, and the other one is choosing a story that is for Black people. Because I remember you telling me before, like, there are people that we know in our community who feel intimidated perhaps by auditioning for a show that, you know, doesn't specify characters of race, because they think, well, all of the regular people who go for these shows are white, and so I probably won't even stand a chance, when all of the regulars, you know, they know the panel, or they've done shows before. Whereas with The Colour Purple, it's almost like a completely blank canvas for us, because woefully we have so few Black members that I hope what it does is creates a level playing field to be like, show us what you got. Like, this is your show. But we also have a lot of people who either come from the industry, so they don't want to perform anymore, or they don't want to be on stage anymore, but they still love performing. They just don't want to do it as a job. Come in and do shows with us after they retire or after they change careers. And then we also have it go the other way. We have people who will come and do a show with us, enjoy it so much that they're like, I'm going to go pro. And our associate director, Bridget Amofa, she did just that. She came in and started doing a show with us pre-pandemic, which got halted by COVID. And I've never, ever seen someone hustle so hard to just go out and reach your dreams. And she just went pro. She just absolutely went for it. And she is now in Cowboys at the Royal Court Theatre with the RSC, originating a role on stage. And she, like, it's great. She's not the only one who's done that, which is epic.
Yeah.
Like, we have people from Sedos in Wicked, in Dear England, in what's the Live Aid musical that's at the Old Vic?
I know what you mean, but
Just for One Day or something.
Yeah.
Like, there are people everywhere who started out in amateur theatre, and it's so socially accepted for something like sport.
Yeah.
You would not find any of the, like, professional footballers being like, oh, no, I never did my local football team.
So true.
Or I never did football in school. No.
Yeah.
So true.
But why is it for theatre? You can't be like, oh yeah, I did Amdram.
Yeah.
I did my hobby. I did a thing that I loved because I love it without getting paid for a while. Why must it
People
be
build
like
up
that?
portfolios all the time. Like, people do volunteer stuff with their portfolio all the time.
Yeah.
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 Like, it's not a, like,
I think
uncommon thing.
I think that's like society's view of the arts in general. Because even when it comes to like music and film, like if you make like an amateur short film, it's like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
this is legitimate stuff.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting.
I think
Really
it's
cool.
also specifically British culture. Like, my friend and I, we have this running joke that we're going to start our own podcast called Broadway Does It Better. Because, like, over the whole pandemic, we would send each other, like, 20-minute voice notes about how, like, America and Broadway, like, how much money they input into it. The fact that you get football teams, like, NFL players will go and attend the theatre and, like, it's cool.
Yeah.
But in here, unless it's Cats or Andrew Lloyd Webber or like that boring stuff, sorry, but like
Shade.
the stuff that you would get on the British Variety or the Royal Variety show, like I just don't think this country is very good at investing into the arts and into theatre. And because of this attitude that it's like they all see us as like a bunch of lovies or that kind of thing. So like it's kind of like, as Tess said, it's like a dirty word or people look down on it when actually like it's one of the strongest communities.
100%.
And like the reason I never grew up on theatre, my interest in theatre came very late. It came when I was 17 years old. And then the reason I got into social media is because when I was on Snapchat, when Snapchat was a big thing in my young age,
Years ago.
and Hamilton was only on Broadway, or it had just transferred to Broadway, and the only way that I could access that show was by following them on Snapchat, and every Wednesday they would have a cast member do a takeover, which would show you behind the scenes.
I remember this well.
Yeah. You know.
I was in that era.
Yeah,
Really
and like
do.
that was the only way that I had access into that, and that's why I went into social media, because I was like, we need to use social media to sort of like bring the community of theatre together. And like for me, like theatre is so much more about like the accolades and the praise and everything. It's about having a shared interest with people who are theatre nerds and who won't mind that you want to rap a Hamilton song at pre-drinks.
Yeah.
Like, just
So
yeah,
true.
you just want to
So
nerd
true.
out.
Let us live.
Gosh, just
Like,
let
we're
us
out
live.
there. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I feel that so
The judgment I have
deeply.
felt for loving
you know
Hamilton
what I
in the
mean?
past is
Or just loving like
quite
any
offensive.
like something,
Yeah.
the negative stigma
Yeah.
around being like a theatre kid
Yeah.
grinds my gears.
Yeah.
Because it's like so much more than just the music and like it's like it becomes a part of your character almost.
Yeah. And I'm sorry about guys that like football. Who the hell are you to judge?
Basic.
When you're no, but like they're just like I don't know, like you'll be out in public and you can do a football chant and that's cool. Because you're cool and you like football. But if I'm singing like Satisfied from Hamilton, I'm an absolute loser. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also,
make
like,
sense.
I really don't see the difference.
No.
Like, football is a bunch of guys who've practiced some movements
It's a dance.
and
girl.
are watched
It's a dance.
improvised
It's
dance.
choreographed.
and are being watched
Yeah,
by a bunch
exactly.
of people. Tell
Yeah.
me the difference between
I know.
that and Hamilton.
You have like
Exactly.
a season pass to go and see football games. I see theatre like 4 times a year. We're not that indifferent. Like,
What's the beef?
just sorry that we have a passion, and then like
Yeah, it's
Sorry
a passion
for
like any other.
But yeah, I completely
Yeah,
agree.
but yeah, that's why we love Amdram, because you get the opportunity to do it. Like, where else can you just rock up and do a musical in like 3 months?
Yeah.
And like have your friends and family come watch, do it after work, like go for some drinks after, enjoy the experience of like putting it on in the theatre, the applause, you know, the dressing rooms, and then you get to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Because we often say, you know, if you did want to go and do that pro, you probably wouldn't get to do the shows that we do get to do doing amateur.
Yeah.
Because of the way that licensing works.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you'd think that The Colour Purple would come up more often because it's such a great show, but even in the UK it's only been done residentially once, when it was at the Menier, right?
Yeah.
And then it has done a couple of tours, and it was at Leicester Curve. Or was it Sheffield?
Yeah, so it was a Leicester Curve and Birmingham Hippodrome production.
That then went on tour.
Which then went on tour, yeah.
Interesting.
And that's like, I feel like that's so few. I feel like it gets done loads in America, which is understandable. It's a very African-American story.
Yeah. True.
But it's such a banger. I
Yeah,
don't get why it's
I
not done
actually
here more.
can't believe they haven't done it here. Like, I actually can't.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was wondering about the music that goes with it. Is that like, so like the ones they'll have used in the movie, that's all, you have the licensing to use all that and stuff? Okay,
Yeah,
amazing.
I think there's new songs in the film.
Yeah,
Nice.
so the closest, if you haven't listened to it and you want to get a taster, recommend the new Broadway cast recording from 2015, which is Cynthia Erivo, Danielle Brooks,
Nice, amazing.
and Jennifer Hudson.
Amazing,
Like,
okay.
the vocals that they are serving. Yeah. And then just in terms of, as you mentioned, like what we're looking for, so for me, like the story, like the character of Celie is so important. Like the whole story is narrated through her, and her writing her letters to God, and then spoiler alert. Actually, maybe I won't do a spoiler alert, but
And then something happens.
Something
then
happens.
something happens.
Whoa, if this sounds slightly different, that is because we are re-recording our stem. Hello, we're midway through the episode. This is Tatty and Kaylee checking in.
Sorry to interrupt the broadcast, but we just wanted to let you know, if you are watching this episode, please leave us a rating over on audio platforms.
Yeah, and if you're on audio platforms and you want to see us or any of the things we're talking about that we might be showing on camera, we do film, so check us out on YouTube, and our shorts are on TikTok and Instagram.
And if you haven't already, definitely make sure you follow us over on socials, because we post so much. We ask you guys to send in some questions for Q&As and much more.
Much, much more.
Anyway, back to the episode.
But yeah, it's about her, like, and her relationship with God, and like her journey. Like in the novel, at the start of the story, Celie's 14 years old. At the end, she's in her 50s. So this story spans 40 years. So for me, I'm looking for like vocals. Great. Like obviously you need to be able to sing, but to be a really strong storyteller, to show that transition from this meek young child who is a victim of abuse and who has never felt love to someone who grows on this journey, and she has this self-acceptance and she finally finds herself in her 50s. Like that's something, like someone who can portray that story. Like I really don't care about age. Like as long as you can tell that story, and that's the beauty of this production. Like there is no limit. Like if you have a musical like Spring Awakening or something, which is set in a school with young kids, and you have 2 adult roles, like this is a show because it is showing like a community of people. Like there's so many great roles. You've got Shug Avery, who's like slightly older, who's Celie's lover. You've got Sophia, who sort of becomes like an older sister figure. You've got Squeak, who's got the most hilarious, annoying, grating voice, and she's sort of like your comic relief. You've got Harpo, who is Mr. who Celie gets married to, his son. You've got Mr. who is a great role,
Such
and
a
like
good
I
character.
think like I really want to emphasize like how great the role of Mr. is, because
Everyone
like
sleeps on this.
yeah, he has the biggest character development in it. Like he is also a victim of abuse from his father. So then that's been passed down, and he passes that on to someone. Like, he's in love with Suge, but Suge never really wanted him in that way. So then he's angry about that, and he takes it out on Celie. And then when Celie sort of has her big moment, then you have Mr. also goes on a journey of like self-reflection, and he like redeems himself, and like they sort of become friends like in the end. And I think like being able to like show that story, I think it's a really great role. You've also got like lots of, the ensemble has like some really great characters. You've got the preacher who has an incredible solo in the opening song.
The opening number.
The opening number is so good.
Absolute joy.
My favourite characters personally are, you've got the three churchgoers, Darlene, Jareen and Doris, who act and the way that I want them to be is sort of like a cross between the Greek chorus, think the Muses and Hercules, meet your nosy church aunties. Like, you know, the ones who are always in your business and like who are always like keep an eye on that, like sort
always
of like
have something to say.
Yeah, they've always got something to say. And like, but they serve incredible vocals. Like, they've got some really great songs, and they sort of like narrate in and out of the story. So yeah, I'm really like, there's just so many great roles for everyone. And you don't have to be great at dancing. Like Vanessa, our choreographer, she works with your ability. Like, she's very talented, and she's really good at pulling out the best talent, like, and working with people of all different levels. So yeah, if anyone's like interested, like, don't feel afraid to like put your foot out. It's scary, but it's so rewarding, and it's so nice, and like, there's no judgment. Like, it's about wanting to do the best, and like, if you're not confident, that's what the director's there for. That's what I'm here for, is to bring out these elements. If you're not confident in your music, you've got the musical director. Like, you don't have to come in polished and perfect. That's what the team is there for, is to bring you to that. You're not going to be in the same place in the first rehearsal. Like, you've got a 3-month journey to go on, and we all go through that together, and there's ways that we can work. Like, it is, and it's also fun, and it's social, and
That's
like,
why we do it. We do it
friends
for
as
fun.
well. Yeah.
All of my friends now are people I've met doing Amdram. I know so many people. We know so many people who met doing Amdram and are now married and now have kids.
Guys, this could be like your dating. It's like speed dating.
Come and meet your husband.
Yeah.
Sedos.com. That's not even the website. Yeah, so it's such a fun thing to do. It's a great hobby to have. We also, like, as Sedos, so Sedos stands for Stock Exchange Dramatic and Operatic Society. So it started in the Stock Exchange in 1905.
Oh my goodness.
Many 100 years ago. And it's been going since then. The only years that we've not done productions was World War II and COVID.
Oh my God,
How wild is that?
Yeah, that
absolutely
is
crazy.
wild.
So
The fact that it was involved.
it still went through World War One.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
They
They said,
persevered.
oh,
They said this will be fine. It's content.
interesting.
So yeah, and you can go on our website. You can see the full history of every single show we did throughout the years. But yeah, this is the first time, I think. We only started like properly recording the shows in like 2007. Since 2007, we've never done a show that is only for Black characters. We don't think we've ever had even a Black director before, and we've definitely never had a creative team that is just Black people.
Wow.
It's a really big deal for me, for us, because I feel like this is the first step in being on a corrected path to creating a safe and inclusive environment for people.
It's really scary though. Like, I remember when Tess and I were having conversations about and putting it on, like, before we sort of like agreed on it, and my biggest thing was I was really scared, because I feel that when you are a person of color, particularly a black person, particularly a black woman, that people will hold you to a higher standard than everyone. Like, there's this saying that you have to work twice as hard to get halfway to where your white counterparts will be. And my biggest worry was that people would be watching my every move with like a magnifying glass, like really like looking in on everything that I did to see if I did something wrong. But like, since we've announced it, everyone, it's had the opposite effect. Everyone has been so supportive. There's people who have been messaging being like, oh, like, do you have a stage manager? I know this person of color who would be really interested. Let me talk to you. Oh, you should speak to this person. And like, everyone is so nice. And like, it was really funny because like the day that we announced that the show was happening, lots of people in the community in all of their group chats were basically
I think I know what you're gonna say.
each other, being like, oh, like are there any like racist white people in the show so I can audition?
Oh my God.
Just because
Oh my
they wanted
God.
to be
Oh my
like
God.
a part of the production.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, like, and also the greatest thing about it is because it is an all black cast, which will probably be majority new members. So then all of the people who would usually be in the shows can actually come and see it.
Yeah.
So like,
That's
it will have even more audiences. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's just really exciting.
Yeah.
And everyone's really rooting for us. And like, it's really nice to feel the love of
Yeah.
the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
definitely gonna be there.
We're definitely gonna be there.
We'll put everything,
night.
information and everything about auditions and everything. If you guys just send us whatever you want, I suppose.
Awesome.
We can add everything. too.
But we've been chatting for a minute. Before we wrap things up, could you both give us maybe like your top 5 favorite musicals, TV shows, films, whatever it is?
Just like a little list.
A mix of
a mix
any
of
those
whatever.
things.
It could be a book or anything.
Could I start?
Please.
Okay, so my top 5. So first one is Hairspray. We touched on it. Really love it. And in all its forms, when it first came out, I saw it in the West End. I also went and saw it on Broadway. Then I watched the original film, and then I also watched the musical. And I made my brother buy me the Shake and Shimmy version, which taught you the choreography of the show. Love it. Second is a play called Misty by Arinze Kene.
Okay.
So when I first started working in theatre, it's the very first play that I saw. And it Arinze Kene is a really talented actor. He wrote it. It's a one-man play about gentrification, but also about himself as a black man growing up in East London, but also as himself as an actor and like the struggles that he has. It's transferred to the West End, then it went to America, and unfortunately there is no more iterations of it, but it was also gig theatre, so it was like spoken word rap, and it was just like amazing. And then moving into books, so it has to be The Colour Purple.
Of course.
Like, I remember the first time I read it, I was sobbing on the tube. Like, I was just captivated. So wonderful. And then my next 2 options, so I've got a music video, which is Britney Spears' You Drive Me Crazy.
Yeah.
I remember when that first came out, I think I would have been about 8 years old. I woke up really early at like 6 a.m. and I crept downstairs to watch TV, turned on MTV when it used to play music. Yeah. And I just saw it. And I was also a massive Sabrina the Teenage Witch fan. And she was in it. And I remember being captivated. Like,
What a queen.
yeah.
Such
And
an
then
icon.
my final one is a song. And it's a song that I just love so much. So
And she's going to sing it for you now.
I'm a massive Paramore fan. I love them. I've seen them 8, 9 times. Like, obsessed.
Yeah.
And
love.
the one song which, like, firstly, Paramore is a black band.
I agree.
So true.
Yeah, it's a black band. And Ain't It Fun?
Oh yeah.
Like, that song, it takes me to church every time. Like, I remember I'd be driving in my car on my way home from uni on the M1, and Ain't It Fun on full blast.
Oh yeah. Screaming at the top of your lungs.
It really elevates me. So,
Excellent.
Obsessed.
yeah.
Obsessed. Okay, I love that.
Oh, I don't know what mine are going to be. It's so difficult to choose. I would say, like, definitely one of my top musicals in my list is a lesser known Sondheim musical called Passion,
Okay.
which is based on an old film. And the reason I love it so much is because it's so highly relatable. It is about a kind of sickly, rude, ugly woman, and some handsome man falls in love with her.
Really
As you
good.
should.
And I'm like, that is the kind of show that I want to see. Thank you.
Representation.
I do.
Really good.
That matters. Yeah. It's absolutely stunning. I love it a lot. And movies. One of my like absolute top movies of all time is Girl Interrupted.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was just like, girl, interrupted. It's just so true.
I think
So true.
I'm like a real fan for that period of time, kind of like 60s, and What a Link has Whoopi Goldberg in of Colour Purple fame.
Yes.
But yeah, I just think it has such complex characters that are really, really interesting in it. Also, side note, like Colour Purple is an amazing book. It used to be on the national curriculum, right? Did I make that up in a dream?
It did. Not when we were there, though.
I was going to say, I never learned about
It-
it.
not when we were there.
I read it in school. It was part of my school curriculum.
Yeah.
When I started rereading it for this show, the first couple of pages, I was like,
Yeah.
I cannot remember my English teacher reading this book out loud in class.
Yeah. No.
Because
My
it is
sister
explicit.
read it in school,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. Some of the books in school, I was like,
Yeah, I know. Mine was such odd
who
choices.
signed off on this?
I know, literally so
You know?
odd.
Oh, okay. Some others. So I have to refer to my list. Podcast. My Dad Wrote a Porno
Oh, yeah.
is absolute peak. I was so late in the game in finding it, but I re-listened to it regularly
Okay.
on the reg.
Nice.
I also have like a kind of a rogue one that goes in there, and that is Kylie Jenner's first pregnancy.
I love it. Because I know I put pop culture moment on the
That's
brief
so
list and no one's ever done it yet.
Incredible.
So-
No, but that is iconic.
Because
Because how
it
could
was
we not know
such,
for
it was
years?
such a piece of theatre. It
Yeah.
was
It
so
was-
well acted.
Yeah.
And then she came out with the video
Yeah.
to my
Yeah.
daughter.
No, I
No,
cried.
you were so
I cried.
valid for that.
I was like, this is art.
It is. It was
Like,
art.
that was
That
like-
whole
yeah.
pregnancy.
Yeah.
The most famous family in the world, the most packed, followed, hides an entire pregnancy.
Yeah.
I feel
Stunning.
like we should bring
That
that
is so
back.
valid.
Let
Didn't
women
Halle
keep it a
bring that?
secret.
Halle
Yeah,
Bring
yeah.
back the
She-
secrets.
Yeah, Halle
Yeah.
Bailey.
Like let women
yes.
do that.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
love
people
that.
are so quick to be like, "You're
So
pregnant,
smart.
aren't you? Aren't you pregnant?"
So do you know how
like,
many complications
none of
could
your
happen?
business.
Yeah.
It's nobody's business.
Yeah.
You can have complications up until the birth. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, let me keep that.
Let's like
To
bring back
myself.
normalizing announcements after the birth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I completely agree.
But yeah, that was art.
It was art.
It was art. It was
Amazing.
art. I don't know if I've done all of them.
I think that one literally covers two. How big
But
it is.
that is a big one.
two
That's
people,
That is like
it is
Yeah,
so
two-
art.
that is like a
But
big
yeah.
deal. Yeah.
Those appear on my list.
I love it.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
If anyone is wondering, you can find the Colour Purple musical to audition at the Colour Purple musical. Is that correct?
Yeah, on Instagram and TikTok.
And TikTok. So definitely make sure you check them out. We're so excited to come to the opening night, hear all the updates as everything progresses. Yeah, thank you guys so much again for coming.
No, thank you for having us.
Having us.
Well, guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more episodes, and we'll catch you next time on As Seen It.
Bye.